Booklet 9, and this is what started me on this path back in July. I had just been doing a lot of Stratego stuff. I was watching some videos on YouTube, and there was this guy that had advertised he was going to set up a campaign using OD&D and chainmail, and then proceeded to never show us anything from OD&D and chainmail, used a bunch of GM emulator stuff, and that torqued me off so much that I took chainmail the next day and I just went through my copy of chainmail and I just started putting numbers in here. Like, here are some shields, and let's see, there are 43 different types of monsters in chainmail. And I used it to generate a campaign. That video's out on YouTube. That's what started it. Booklet 9 is the final result here. These are the rules that a referee can use to generate a campaign. Now, Arneson does have a procedure for generating hexes and populating them and doing migrations and investments. He's got so much in FFC. And I just scored a copy of FFC off of Wayne's books, which should be arriving on the 5th. Don't be too jealous, but I got that at a reasonable price too, I think. It was only $70. So I'm looking forward to that arriving. But I think those procedures must have been later. And I'm trying to get back to the roots. So what could be more of a root than taking Chainmail 3rd edition, feeding this into Claude.ai, and extracting oracles and extracting tables and turning it into a procedure. And that's what I've done here. So this will enable you to set up the terrain, the factions, the weather, and more importantly than all of that, personalities. Tony Bath. This is a variation on Tony Bath. The interesting thing is, I didn't realize this until I finally decided to put this in yesterday. Appearance. That's one of Arneson's traits from the Spanish character sheet. Spanish Royals character sheet, I think, might be on the HW Dumbo. Loyalty. That's there from the beginning too. Popularity. That's like leadership. Morals. That's kind of like your alignment. It's almost like the Tony Bath Hyboria stuff. I think great minds think alike. I think there was a lot of material in the zeitgeist that was similar. People were reading the same stuff. They were watching the same movies on TV. It was a much more insular culture, let's put it that way. Despite the fact that this came out of Great Britain and Arneson's FFC came out of his own head, so to speak, and Dave Wesley and he may have collaborated on some of this stuff. It's interesting that Bath, I was able to take the Bath system and then make it fit with the 2d6 statistics that Arneson came up with. So I don't know. You tell me, folks. I think I'm on. I think I'm on the right track with this. Anyway, Arneson also has, or not Arneson, but Bath has chances for characters and important personages, non-real players, non-player characters, to fall out of the campaign due to falling seriously ill, or having an illness, or just dying of old age. That's replicated here in a much easier to consume fashion than you'll see in Bath's original rule set. Random generation of points of interest. This from FFC. This is how you generate adventures within the domain. Random battlefield generation. So Arneson had in FFC a completely different system for laying out terrain for a battlefield than Chainmail. I put that in. And do you know what it is? The name gave a clue. This is actually the Battle of Bannockburn, or Bannockburn, or however you pronounce it, from Scotland. And if you look at a map, which I've even given you a reference here, if you look at a map of that battlefield, you will find these features that Arneson just gave us a list, and he gave us kind of a tantalizing clue as to where this comes from. In FFC, Arneson calls it the Banchock, Scotland baseline. But it's Bannockburn, right? Thank goodness I've read Oman's, Wars in the Middle Ages, or whatever it was. Reference work back when I was taking History of European Warfare. Anyway, Oracle tables. So one thing that's always been missing from early D&D was the ability to do an Oracle to help the GM out. What I did with this chainmail thing is I just was rolling dice on the page, and then where the dice would land, I would just pick that word. Well, I've taken it a step further by analyzing this. By the way, I tried to do it in ChatGPT first and could not get the parts of speech, and it was not understanding, and it was not producing accurate results. So I switched to Claude on advice from somebody, and I'm so glad I did. Because now, you roll for a verb, you roll for a noun, you've got a verb-noun pair. This is very much like Ironsworn. You know, Ironsworn has a set of... I love Ironsworn too, by the way. I haven't played a lot of it, but man, it's fun. This is the kind of thing you see in Ironsworn for oracles. Did the same thing. All the words come from chainmail, though. Every one of these words comes from chainmail 3rd edition. If I had to do it again, I'd take it back to 2nd edition, just because I'm becoming a 2nd edition chainmail purist. And then I also give you adjectives, adjective-noun pairs, adverbs, adverb-verb pairs, prepositional phrases, and this required a lot more hand editing to get this broken down into this table. And then finally, preposition-article pairs. Specialty tables. So I gave you specialty tables: troops, weapons, armor, battlefield spells, unique cultures, right? And I've done some changing here because I didn't want to run afoul of the Moorcock or Tolkien estates. So some of the serial numbers are filed off here. Unique personages, artillery pieces, and colors, and then finally types of cover and fantastic monsters. So these monsters, shouldn't use those for random encounters, but if a guard is like guarding a legend or might have a clue to some artifact or something, use that table instead. Again, more brilliant artwork here by Mr. Castro, Diego Castro.